Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at some really powerful source material. It's Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford commencement address.
Right. It's legendary for a reason. It's not just motivation, is it?
No, not at all. It feels more like a blueprint. His inner philosophy,
Yeah.
the thing that drove him through all the ups and downs at Apple, Pixar, and XT.
Exactly. And it's so concise. He basically takes his entire life, the adoption, the huge success, the crushing failure, and then facing his own mortality and boils it down.
Into 3 stories.
Yeah, 3 stories. It's like a roadmap for creating meaningful stuff and, maybe more importantly, for bouncing back.
That's exactly what we want to dig into today. We're going beyond just the inspiring quotes. We want to unpack the actual operating principles behind connecting the dots, love and loss, and death.
We want to see how those specific lessons led to specific actions, things that shaped Apple's big comeback, Pixar's whole creative engine, NextXT.
Right. We're digging into the why. Why did he make those sometimes really counterintuitive choices? Choices that look like disasters at the time.
Yeah, and for you listening, this is kind of a shortcut to understanding how those seemingly random things in his life connected, and maybe how yours could too. We want to show you the actual dots.
Okay, let's do it. Story number 1, connecting the dots. And to really get this, we have to go way back. Before Apple, before even college. Right back to his birth.
Yeah, the very first dot. And it wasn't even one he placed himself. It came from his biological mother. She was young, a graduate student, unwed.
And she made this really firm decision, put the baby up for adoption.
But, and this is crucial, she had one absolute condition.
The adoptive parents had to be college graduates.
Right. Which immediately set the stage for, well, drama. Because everything was lined up for a lawyer and his wife. Educated people seemed perfect.
Papers ready and everything.
Yeah, and then last minute, literally, they changed their minds. They decided they wanted a girl, not a boy.
Wow. So the whole plan just collapses.
Completely. And that's when his eventual parents, Paul and Clara Jobs, get a call. Late at night. Unexpected baby boy, available now. Do you want him?
And they said yes right away.
Instantly. But the story doesn't end there. That condition comes back.
Ah, the college graduate thing.
Exactly. His biological mother finds out that Clara hadn't graduated college and Paul hadn't even finished high school.
Oh, no. So she refused to sign.
Yep. Held out for months, apparently. Refused to finalize the adoption.
That's intense. What changed her mind?
His parents, Paul and Clara, made a promise, a really significant promise. They promised her that Steve would go to college, no matter what.
And that promise, made under all that pressure, becomes this huge weight, right? 17 years down the line.
Absolutely. It dictates the next big dot. 17 years later, Steve does go to college, honors the promise.
But he chooses Reed College, which, as he points out, was almost as pricey as Stanford.
Super expensive. And his parents were working class. He says it took all their savings, everything they had.
You can feel the pressure building there, the weight of that sacrifice.
Totally. And that leads to this crisis point for him. Just 6 months in,
he realizes he's not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, he sees no value in the required classes. He has no clue what he wants to do with his life. And he's burning through his parents' entire life savings.
The guilt must have been immense.
Unbearable, it sounds like. So he makes this radical decision, especially given that promise.
And he drops out.
He decides to drop out. But here's the twist people often miss. He doesn't just leave.
Right. He trusts it'll work out somehow.
He trusts, yeah. And dropping out wasn't about quitting. It was about freedom. It let him stop taking the required classes he hated.
And instead,
he stays around Reed for another 18 months as a drop-in, just taking the classes that actually looked interesting to him.
That's a key distinction. He didn't run away. He shifted his focus entirely based on curiosity.
But it wasn't easy street. He talks about being really poor during that time.
Sleeping on floors.
Yeah, crashing on friends' floors, returning Coke bottles for like 5 cents each just to get food money.
And walking miles for a free meal at the Hare Krishna temple.
Right. Every Sunday night, a 7-mile walk. That's the reality behind following your intuition. It wasn't glamorous. It was a struggle.
But that struggle, that scarcity, maybe it focused him even more on the subjects he chose to learn. No distractions.
Could be. And that leads directly to the famous calligraphy class.
Because he was a drop-in, no requirements, he could just wander into things.
And Reed College apparently had maybe the best calligraphy instruction in the whole country at the time.
He noticed it everywhere, right? Yeah. The posters, the labels on campus, all beautifully hand-lettered.
Yeah. So out of pure curiosity, he decides to take the class. To learn how they did that. And he really learned it. It wasn't just about nice handwriting.
No, he got into the details. serif versus sans serif typefaces.
You know, the ones with the little feet versus the clean ones, and typography, the actual spacing between the letters. Kerning.
The artistry of it. He called it beautiful, historical, subtle, in a way science couldn't capture.
Pure aesthetics, pure craft.
And the crucial part is, he knew at the time it was completely useless, practically speaking.
Zero practical application. He wasn't planning to be a calligrapher. It was just interesting. He was drawn to it. Wabi-sabi, that appreciation for imperfect beauty and craft.
But then 10 years pass.
A whole decade, and he's co-designing the first Macintosh computer.
And suddenly, that useless knowledge,
It all comes flooding back. It's the missing piece.
they designed it into the Mac.
All of it. The beautiful fonts, multiple typefaces, proportionally spaced characters, things we totally take for granted now.
The Mac was the first computer to really care about that stuff. Before that, it was just blocky, uniform text.
A massive leap, both technically and aesthetically. And he makes this amazing point since Windows copied the Mac's interface.
That random calligraphy class is probably why all personal computers have the rich typography they do today.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, that one decision.
So looking back at that whole chain, the promise, the college cost, dropping out, poverty, the calligraphy,
You absolutely couldn't connect those dots looking forward in 1973. No way.
linking calligraphy to the future of computing.
Yeah.
Impossible. It only makes sense in hindsight.
Perfectly clear looking backward, as he says.
And that's the core lesson of this first story. The mandate.
You have to trust. You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect down the road.
Trust in what? Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever you call it.
Right. It's not passive wishing, though. It's like an active belief system.
It's what gives you the confidence, he says, to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, when everyone else thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, it justifies the wandering. And for anyone listening, it means maybe those weird hobbies you have, the skills you picked up that seem useless now.
They could be dots. Dots waiting to be connected later.
But you won't see it unless you trust the process. You won't drop into those random classes that might just change everything.
Okay, so that's trust and intuition. Story 2 takes a sharp turn. It's about dealing with, well, total disaster. He calls it love and loss.
Yeah. If story 1 is about trusting the unseen future, this one is about surviving a very public, very painful present. It's about failure.
He starts by saying he was lucky, found what he loved early. Apple, age 20, parents' garage.
That early passion is key because it's what carries him through what comes next.
And what came first was just explosive growth. 10 years, 2 guys in a garage to a $2 billion company.
4,000 employees, and they just launched the Macintosh a year earlier, what he called their finest creation.
He's on top of the world. He's 30 years old, one of the most famous tech leaders anywhere.
And then, boom, he gets fired.
From Apple, the company he started. It's still kind of shocking.
It is. The background basically was that as Apple got huge, the board felt they needed, a grown-up manager.
So Jobs helps recruit John Scully from Pepsi, someone he thought was super talented.
Right. But once Scully was in, their visions for Apple started to clash. Big time.
Jobs pushing for radical innovation, Scully may be more focused on stable business.
Something like that. The board eventually had to pick a side.
And they picked Scully.
They picked Scully. Jobs was out. And it wasn't quiet. It was incredibly public, humiliating.
He describes feeling just empty. The focus of his entire adult life just gone. Poof.
Yeah, adrift for months. Didn't know what to do.
And he felt like a public failure, right? Like
Yeah.
he'd let people down.
Totally. Not just personally, but like he'd failed the whole industry, dropped the baton of innovation. He mentions apologizing to guys like David Packard, Bob Noyce,
Oh,
Pillars of the Valley.
wow. Apologizing to them. That shows how deep the shame went. He even thought about just running away.
Yeah, leaving Silicon Valley completely, disappearing somewhere. That's how bad it was.
So how do you come back from that?
Well, slowly, he says, this realization starts to creep in. Despite the firing, the public humiliation,
He still loved the work.
he still loved building things, creating, designing. The passion itself hadn't died, just the job.
Rejected, but still in love, as he
Right.
put it.
Right, so there was only one real option for him.
Start over.
Start over. And this is where the story flips. This is the paradox. He says, getting fired.
Was the best thing that could have ever happened to him.
Which sounds insane, right? How is getting fired from your own company the best thing?
His explanation is fascinating. He talks about the heaviness of being successful.
All the pressure, the expectations, the politics, the fear of messing up what you'd already built.
That was all gone. instantly replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again.
That freedom is everything. He was less sure about things, forced to rethink everything. He felt the weight of running that huge company had actually been stifling his creativity.
Losing it all, remove the fear. What else could happen?
Exactly. What's the worst they can do now? And that shift from defending success to embracing risk.
It kicked off one of his most creative periods ever, the next 5 years.
A total renaissance. He starts two completely new companies. NextT Computers.
Focused on high-end machines for education and business.
And Pixar. He invests in this small animation group.
Plus, personally, he meets Lauren Powell, who becomes his wife. So it was a rebirth on all fronts.
Absolutely. Now, Pixar, that was a game changer. While NextT kind of struggled commercially at first,
Pixar hit it big with Toy Story.
the world's first computer-animated feature film made them the most successful animation studio on the planet. Huge validation.
But the real twist comes back to NextT, the struggling company.
Right, because NextT Computers might not have sold millions, but the underlying technology, the software.
That was revolutionary.
Totally. And meanwhile, back at Apple in the mid-90s,
Yeah.
they were in trouble. Their operating system was old, unstable, a mess,
They needed something new.
something powerful.
So in this incredible turn of events, Apple decides to buy NextT in 1996.
Partly to get jobs back, sure.
But mainly, they bought NextT for the technology. Specifically, the NextT Step operating system.
Which is built on Unix, right?
Super stable. Exactly. Rock-solid foundation, object-oriented, everything Apple's old OS wasn't. And that NextT Step tech,
Became the core of OS X. Became the absolute foundation for OS X, which is basically what runs every Mac, iPhone, and iPad today. The engine of Apple's entire modern renaissance came directly from his failed company.
it's an amazing full circle.
He was convinced none of it, not Pixar, not Apple's comeback, would have happened if he hadn't been fired.
Awful tasting medicine, he called it. But I guess the patient needed it.
Yeah. The public failure was the essential catalyst.
So what kept him going through that awful period? Before NextT, before Pixar took off.
Just one thing, he says. He loved what he did. If he hadn't had that deep love for the work itself.
He would have taken that option to run away from the valley.
Absolutely. No NextT, no Pixar. So the lesson, the mandate for everyone listening is powerful.
Eric's going to fill a huge chunk of your life.
A massive part. So the only way to be truly satisfied is to do work you believe is great work.
And the only way to do great work,
Is to love what you do.
which raises the question, what if you haven't found it? What if you have bills to pay?
His answer, implied by his own history, remember the Coke bottles in Hare Krishna temple, is pretty uncompromising.
Keep looking. Don't settle.
Don't settle. He says you'll know when you find it. It feels like a great relationship. It gets better over time.
But you have to be willing to endure the search, maybe the struggle, maybe the failures, fueled by that love.
Yeah. You can't settle for good enough if you want great.
Okay. Trust the dots. Find what you love, even through loss. The third story shifts perspective entirely. It's about death.
Yeah, this anchors everything. It turns death from something to fear into, believe it or not, a practical tool for making decisions.
And this started really young for him, too, age 17.
He reads this quote, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right."
And that stuck with him.
Deeply. It wasn't just a cool quote. It became a daily practice for 33 years.
Every morning, look in the mirror.
And ask himself one question. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today?
That's a heavy question to start your day with.
It is. But it was his filter. And here's the operational part. If the answer was no for too many days in a row,
That was the signal.
that was the signal that something needed to change right now. It forced course correction.
He calls remembering he'll be dead soon the most important tool he ever found for making big life choices.
Because death is the great clarifier. It just strips away all the noise.
All the external expectations, what people think.
All the pride, worrying about your status, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure.
He says in the face of death, those things just fall away. Poof. Gone.
And what's left?
Only what is truly important to you.
It directly tackles that inertia we all feel, right? The fear of losing something if we take a risk. Losing our job, our reputation.
Was counters brilliant. Remembering you're going to die is the best way to avoid that trap of thinking you have anything to lose in the first place.
Because, as he puts it so starkly, you are already naked.
Came in with nothing, leave with nothing.
Exactly. So if you're already naked, if the clock is ticking anyway, what logical reason is there not to follow your heart, your intuition?
It reframes fear as basically irrational, manufactured by ego and society. If you accept the nakedness,
Fear loses its grip. That's the courage he needed to start NXT and Pixar after Apple. No safety net, just the idea.
he then goes even further with this really startling view on death itself. He admits, yeah, nobody wants to die.
Even people who believe in heaven don't want to die to get there, he jokes. But it's the one destination we all share.
But he doesn't see it as just an end. He calls it.
Very likely the single best invention of life.
Wow, okay, unpack that. How is death an invention, let alone the best one?
Because it's life's change agent. Its purpose, its function is to clear out the old.
Old ideas, old ways, old leaders.
To make way for the new, it guarantees evolution. It prevents stagnation. He points out, right now, you the listener, the next generation are the new.
But eventually.
You'll become the old, and you'll be cleared away too. It's not sad. It's just the necessary cycle for progress.
So fighting change is like fighting life itself. It's coming one way or another.
Precisely. And that unavoidable reality, that limited time, leads to his final, urgent mandate.
Don't waste your time living someone else's life.
Don't get trapped by dogma, just living out the results of other people's thinking, following paths, because they're already there.
And maybe most importantly, don't let the noise of other opinions drown out your own inner voice.
You have to listen to yourself, even when it doesn't make sense to others.
So the final command pulls it all together.
Oh.
The trust from story 1, the love from story 2, the clarity from story 3.
Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition.
Why?
Because somehow they already know what you truly want to become. Everything else, the plans, the fears, the external stuff, is secondary.
Which brings us to those famous last words. Stay hungry. Stay foolish.
Which aren't just a cool sign-off, they summarize the whole speech.
Stay hungry.
That's the relentless drive from story 2. Loving the work, never being satisfied, always pushing.
And stay foolish.
That's the courage from story 1 and 3. Foolish enough to trust the dots, take the calligraphy class. Foolish enough to remember you're already naked and risk it all on your intuition.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we've seen these 3 pillars.
Yeah, first, trusting the dots, embracing uncertainty now, believing things will connect later.
Second, love and loss, finding work you love is the only way to survive the inevitable failures and turn them into fuel for creativity.
And third, death as a tool, using mortality not as a fear, but as a lens for absolute clarity, stripping away the trivial and focusing you on courageous action.
So the challenge, back to you, listening right now. What dot from your past makes sense now, looking back? Some weird skill, a setback, a random choice. Can you connect it?
Or maybe, more immediately, what part of your life right now keeps answering no to that mirror question? If today were my last day, where is that signal telling you a change is needed?
Jobs said death is life's best invention because it forces change. So the final thought is, if that's true, what change do you need to initiate based on what you love, based on your intuition, before life forces it on you? How can you be your own change agent?
Something to really think about as you listen to that inner voice.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Steve Jobs' core philosophy. We'll catch you on the next one.